सचिन एक मिनिट. आता हे असं हे ऍडमिट करायचं, कोण जॉईन झालं ना ऍडमिट करायचं, ऍडमिट करायचं. 2 मिनिटं जाऊन येतो ऑप्शनला.
जॉईन होतात
काही बाहेरचे असेल तर ऍडमिट करायचं. बरं,
बाकीचे
ओके ओके ओके. थँक्यू.
समोरच येतात
हो हो, तुम्हाला लिंक पाठवू का? तुम्हाला जर समजा इच्छा असेल तर मला हीच लिंक बहुतेक नाही, फक्त इथं हे होईल इको येते. जाऊ. नमस्कार सर.
हा नमस्कार. मला I hope I don't have to speak anything.
I think you have to speak, sir.
I mean, I think let speaker get more time.
Yes. Only there are only 2 talks. Only you are.
I'll just welcome him.
Okay, sir.
हेलो,
नमस्कार जी. वाहेगुरु जी की खालसा, वाहेगुरु जी की फतेह.
नमस्ते sir. So Angad sir, shall I start?
Yes, sir.
Very good evening to all of you. Sukha Singh sir, very good evening. Honorable Director sir, very good evening. All my deans, my dear heads, students, and all are welcome for this evening. On behalf of Dean Student Affairs Office of HGS, I, Arun Kumar Patil, welcome all the guests and hand over the charge to the energetic anchor and coordinator, Mr. Angad Singh. Mr. Angad Singh, over to you.
Thank you very much, sir. So I welcome everybody once again on behalf of all the 6 students of Shri Guru Gobind Singhji Institute of Engineering and Technology. And today, as you all know, we have gathered here to celebrate the Gurupurab of Shri Guru Gobind Singhji Maharaj. And as we live in Tagat Sachkhand Sri Hajur Sahib Nanded, and as our college is named after the great personality Shri Guru Gobind Singhji Maharaj, it important that we should know what their history is and what their message is. So, with that intentions, we have invited someone who knows a lot about Sikhi and about Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. And there could not have been a better speaker than Gyani Sukha Singh Ji to educate us about the message of Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj and their history. I'd like to request our Honorable Director, Sir, Professor Dr. Yashwant Joshi, Sir, to kindly preside over the event and welcome our chief guest for today.
So, good afternoon, all those who are present for this 354th Gurupurab Utsav, the birth celebrations of 10th Sikh Guru, Shri Guru Gobind Singh Ji, after whose name this institute is established. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome Honorable Shri Sukha Singh Ji for this particular event. We are hosting such an event for the first time and in an online mode. Without taking much of the time, I would welcome once again Mr. Sukha Singh Ji and all those who are attending this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Just a little quick introduction about Gyani Sukha Singh Ji for all our audience who have joined through the Google Meet as well as on YouTube. There are people watching us from worldwide. Just to give a quick introduction about Gyani Sukha Singh Ji. Bhai Sukha Singh Ji is born and brought up in the United Kingdom, and alongside their formal education, they have also attained Gurmat Gyan, and they learned Sikh history and Katha. They also have learned Rag Vidya, which is which is used during the Kirtan. Bhai Sukha Singh Ji is someone who has a lot of love and are connected with Gurbani, and they have traveled around the world teaching about Sikhi and have been inspiring people with their amazing kathas. Bhai Sukha Singh Ji has an ocean's worth of knowledge about Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj and their history and what their message to the world is. So, with no further ado, I'd like to request Gyani Sukha Singh Ji to kindly begin their Mangacharan and their Katha. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
आदरणीय डायरेक्टर साहिब, समूह कॉलेज के प्रोफेसर साहिब, समूह विद्यार्थियों को विनम्रता सहित मैं फतेह अर्ज करता हूँ। वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह। मेरी हिंदी थोड़ी कमज़ोर है और उसमें पंजाबी की झलक आती है, और मराठी मेरी उससे भी ज़्यादा कमज़ोर है। कसे हाथ तो अलावा मेरी मराठी बहुत ज़्यादा कमज़ोर है, इस करके मैं ज़्यादा करके अंग्रेज़ी विच आप जी नाल गल करांगा। So I will be speaking English. As you've heard, my Marathi is terrible and I'm not very fluent in Hindi either, which I will work on for the future. So as we're beginning, I'd like to offer congratulations for the Gurupurab to all of the professors of the college, to the Director Sahiban, to all of the students. May Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj bless you all with their grace, so that you may all further carry on your learning and your teaching. So just to begin, there's a small story about Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji Maharaj, which goes to the times of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. And as the Professor Sahibans would know, and the students will know, Gurdwara Takht Sachkhand Sri Hazur Sahib was established by Maharaja Ranjit Singh during his reign over Punjab. And one day, Maharaja Ranjit Singh was listening to stories about Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And he had a great desire that I don't just want to listen to stories about the Guru, I want to find someone who actually saw Guru Gobind Singh Ji and ask them, what did the Guru look like? Many other people will probably tell you stories you've already heard. So my try and my attempt will be today to bring some stories which you may not have heard about Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and especially to do with Guru Gobind Singh Ji's intellectual side. How Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj used to fund not just the college today, which is in their name, which is teaching many thousands of students, but also in the time of the Guru themselves, how Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj loved literature, how they loved scholars. And for those of you who may not know this, the Mahabharata was translated by Guru Gobind Singh Ji and their poets from its original language into Punjabi. And to translate it into Punjabi, there was one Kavi, one poet whose name was Hansram, and he was given the Karan Parv. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj loved literature so much that he gave 60,000 coins of that time for one chapter, for one Parv. And that's written by Kavi Hansram himself. He says, the Guru blessed me so much just for one chapter. He gave me 60,000 gold coins. And this is back in the 1600s, 1700s, in the time of the Guru. So just going back to the story that I'm beginning with, Maharaja Ranjit Singh is listening to these stories of the Guru and is so intrigued and is so inspired that he says, I want to find someone in my kingdom who met Guru Gobind Singh Ji. So the courtiers go out into all of Punjab and they're traveling and they're looking for someone. Finally, they come across a Nihang Singh who's 115 years old. And he says, I have seen Guru Gobind Singh Ji. But obviously, he's very old. 115 is a ripe old age. So he couldn't walk into the court. So Maharaja Ranjit Singh sent a palanquin and they sat that Nihang Singh in the palanquin and he came to the court of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Maharaja Ranjit Singh then sat that Nihang Singh on a higher seat. And he said, explain to me, describe to me Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And at that moment, the Nihang Singh's eyes welled up with tears. Tears started rolling down his cheeks. And he said, I never looked the Guru in the eyes because I could not withstand the glory or the splendor from the Guru's face. But he says, I will give you one experience. When my forehead touched the feet of Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji, it felt like an electric current was running through my body. Maharaja Ranjit Singh heard this and he was amazed and he was in awe. So I just wanted to give you that. We speak about Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Many of us describe Guru Gobind Singh Ji. We hear stories about Guru Gobind Singh Ji. But someone who actually met Guru Gobind Singh Ji, someone who had enough blessings to place their forehead upon the feet of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, he explained that meeting the Guru was a life-changing experience, and that simply by putting your forehead upon the Guru's feet, it felt like a spiritual energy was running through your body. And that Nihang Singh looked at Maharaja Ranjit Singh. He says, how can I describe Guru Gobind Singh Ji? Guru Gobind Singh Ji was not made of anything of this world. They were his words. Guru Gobind Singh Ji was not made out of the elements that we are made out of. Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj was made out of heavenly light. And those were the words that Nihang Singh used. So I'm going to speak just for another maybe 10 minutes or so, just talking about the intellectual side of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj and how Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji Maharaj would fund places of learning, just like you are in today, Shri Guru Gobind Singh Ji Engineering and Technology Institute. So in the times of the Guru, many of you would have heard that the Guru used to have a Kavi Darbar, which was a poetry court, and many poets would come. Usually in Sikh history, we talk about 52 poets, but if you read Professor Pyara Singh Padm's book, Guru Gobind Singh De Darbari Ratan, he actually writes that hundreds of poets would come and go in the court of the Guru. And there's one or two stories which go back to the poetry court of Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji. Guruji at that time of this story was about 19 or 20 years old. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji was living at a place called Paonta Sahib, which is now in Himachal Pradesh. A beautiful hillside area. When you go there, you can feel the cool breeze upon your face. And at that place, next to the Yamuna River, Guru Gobind Singh Ji would hold their court. And even today, you can go to that place where Guru Gobind Singh Ji would sit and listen to poetry in the evening. And when Guru Gobind Singh Ji one evening was sitting in their court of poetry, all of the great poets were reading out poems one by one. Guru Gobind Singh Ji was blessing them with gifts. And all of a sudden, one man walked in to the middle of the court of poetry. His clothes were ripped, and he had dust all over his face and all over his clothes. And he walked in the middle of the court of poetry. He started doing press-ups, push-ups, and he started doing what we call dand baitka in Punjabi, so sit-ups and press-ups. And everybody turned round and they said, "What are you doing?" Some of the Sikhs went up to him and they said, "Oh, poor man, this isn't a wrestling ring. You haven't come here to play kabaddi. This is a court of poetry. And you're meant to be listening to poetry. You're meant to be saying poetry." And he said, I know it's not a wrestling ring. I know that it's the court of poetry. And so he said, "What are you doing then?" By that moment, Guru Gobind Singh Ji saw the man. He caught Maharaj's eye. And Maharaj said, "Let him come to the front." So he came to the front of the court of poetry. And all these great poets are sitting there. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji says, "What is your name?" He says, "My name is Heer." Guru Gobind Singh Ji says, "What is it that you do?" Because he was a very thin man. Guru Gobind Singh Ji says, "It doesn't look like you're a wrestler, but you're doing sit-ups and press-ups. What is it that you do?" He said, "Guruji, I'm a poet." And Guru Gobind Singh Ji looked at him and they said, "But you're covered in dust. Why were you doing these press-ups? Why were you doing these sit-ups?" And he started laughing and he said, "Guruji, I am a poet. I am proficient in Persian and Sanskrit both. But despite being highly educated, nobody has given me the respect that I deserve. I've been wandering from the courts of kings to kings. And now I have come here today to your court because I don't have enough food to eat. I don't have any money with which to buy clothes and with which to sustain my family." And Guruji says, "That's all fine, but why were you doing press-ups? Why were you doing sit-ups?" He says, "Maharaj, when a wrestler goes into the wrestling ring, he does press-ups, he does sit-ups." And he says, "Why am I doing press-ups and sit-ups?" He says, "Because I am going into the wrestling ring against poverty, garibi." And he says, "Today I'm challenging poverty. And I'm saying to poverty, if you are strong, come and fight with me today. I'm going to read one poem to Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj is going to fire the arrows of his charity, the arrows of his donation. And oh, poverty, he will rip you into pieces." And that poem that he read at that moment, his name was Kavi Heer. The poem which he read, I'm going to recite to you. It's in Braj Pasha, which I hope many of you will understand. It's very close to Hindi. He said, "Darid kapoot tero marn banyo hai aaj." Darid meaning poverty. "Darid kapoot tero marn banyo hai aaj. Karke salam aao hujo Kavi Heer so." Come and fight with me. "Natar Gobind Singh bilk karenge tohe." If you come today, Guru Gobind Singh Ji will cut you into pieces. He's saying to poverty, "Natar Gobind Singh bilk karenge tohe. Took took gade mare danan ke teer se." When Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj heard this poem, Guru Gobind Singh Ji was so happy. Guru Gobind Singh Ji said to the Sikhs, they said, "Open up the treasury. And this man, this poet, he can take as much gold and diamonds as he can carry." I know that I have only a few more minutes left. And I'm just going to tell you one more poem from the court of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, one more story, because you are intellectuals, you are students, you are professors. Many of you probably have a love for literature. Many of you have a love for the arts. Many of you have you obviously, all of you have a deep love for engineering and technology. So I just want to give you one more story from the court of Guru Gobind Singhji, and especially the court of poetry. So in Guru Gobind Singhji's life, Guru Gobind Singhji held 3 courts of poetry. The first I've told you about was at Paonta Sahib. The next was at Anandpur Sahib, where Guru Gobind Singhji created the Khalsa. That is the next place where Guru Gobind Singhji held his court of poetry. And the third court of poetry was held by Guru Gobind Singhji in a place called Lakhi Jungle. Now, just to give you a bit of context and a bit of background information, this third court of poetry was held by the Guru after Guru Gobind Singhji Maharaj had sacrificed his 4 sons. So after sacrificing the 4 Sahibzade, when Guru Gobind Singhji sacrificed his whole family in the month which had just passed, in the month of December, even after that, even after going through that traumatic experience, the Guru again held a court of poetry. And this time, that court of poetry wasn't held in a palace, and it wasn't held in a beautiful place. It was held in a jungle. And so the Guru was sitting under a tree, and he wrote letters, and he said to all of the poets, he said, come and I want to listen to your poetry. Even though I don't have my palace, I don't have Anandpur, I don't have the gold, I don't have rubies and diamonds, but I want to still listen to poetry. That is how much the Guru loved poetry. And so the poets started coming, and there was one poet, his name was Bihari. And that Bihari Kavi came, and he stood up in front of Guru Gobind Singhji in Lakhi Jungle, and he became emotional. He looked at the Guru, and remember, the Guru used to sit upon a golden throne. The Guru used to have countless elephants and treasures and all these other things. Bihari Kavi becomes emotional. Bihari Kavi stands up, and as he stands up, the Guru says, "Oh Bihari, I don't have money to give to you today. I don't have rubies to give to you today. I don't have diamonds to give to you today." And Bihari Kavi fills his eyes with tears, and he says, "Guruji, today I have not come to ask for diamonds." Imagine, these are those same people who had seen Guru Gobind Singhji's sons. And now they are looking at the Guru after the Guru has sacrificed his family. And he says, "Today I have not come to ask for money or wealth. Today I have not come to ask for riches. There is only one thing I ask." And Bihari Kavi then recited this poem in Punjabi, which I'm going to recite to you today. He said, "Chadar maidi te saban thoda, jad dekhan tad rovaं." Chadar maidi, the blanket is covered in dirt. Saban thoda, the saban, the soap is not enough. Jad dekhan tad rovaं, when I look at the blanket, my eyes fill up with tears. बहुते दाग लगे तन मेरे, मैं केड़ा केड़ा तोवां. बहुते दाग means I have many stains upon my inside. मैं केड़ा केड़ा तोवां. How can I wash my inside? Many of us sitting here today probably feel this as well. When we start looking at our mind, we see all of the stains which are there inside us. Then he said, "Dagan di koi कीमत nahi, मैं क्यों कर हच्छी होवां." These stains of mine, they have no value. They make me worthless. Oh Guru Gobind Singh, how can I wash my mind? Then in the last line, Bihari Kavi says, "Siri Sahib, menu darshan devo, मैं सच्चे साबण तोवां." He says, "Oh Guru Gobind Singh, today I do not ask for wealth, I do not ask for money, I do not ask for diamonds. Today, looking into your eyes, the only thing I ask is that you wash my mind. Siri Sahib menu darshan devo, give me the darshan of that Akal Purkh, that Ram, that Khuda, that Allah, that Parvadigar, give me darshan, give me the experience of God. So I'm just going to finish up there for my small sharing of the life of Guru Gobind Singh Ji with you. I didn't want to give you too many historical dates, and I didn't want to tell you stories which you'd heard countless times. Hopefully these stories I told you today, you probably haven't heard them ever before. So there's a wealth of knowledge in the court of Guru Gobind Singh Ji. The poetry in Hindi, the poetry in Sanskrit, even the poetry in other languages is amazing. And so I would encourage you all, the professors and the students, to look at the court of poetry of Guru Gobind Singh Ji and to gain inspiration. Again, bahut badai. Congratulations to all of you. May Guru Gobind Singh Ji keep the hand of grace upon the head of all of the professors and upon the head of all of the students. Please forgive my mistakes. मैं फिर से डायरेक्टर साहिबान को, प्रोफेसर साहिबानों को, सभी विद्यार्थियों को निम्रता सहित फतेह अर्ज करता हूँ. वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, sir. Very inspirational and very pure thoughts. Sir, you want to say something, sir?
It's okay, sir. Thank you very much. Your talk was very inspirational. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Over to Angad.
Thank you. बहुत धन्यवाद आप दीदा ज्ञानी सुखा सिंह जी. I also like to thank everybody who has joined us for celebrating Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj's Gurupurab today from all around the world. Everybody from Shri Guru Gobind Singh Ji Institute of Engineering and Technology. I would like to thank our Honorable Director, sir, who have given us the encouragement and the permissions for conducting such an event during such a crisis. Because every year we used to conduct a beautiful program in the college, in the premises. But this year, due to the COVID regulations, we have not been able to do the same. So as a compensation, we did this online program. I'd also like to thank our Dean Student Activities, Dr. Arun Patil sir, who have also been super encouraging and supportive for the conduction of this event. And I would like to thank everybody for joining on behalf of the Student Council and all the 6 students of Shri Guru Gobind Singh Ji Institute of Engineering and Technology. आप सबका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद और आप सबको गुरुपुरब की बहुत बहुत बधाई.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir, for joining us and blessing your words. हम आगे आशा करें कि आप हमें और वक्त दें और हमें साथ जुड़े. और हमारे अलुमनाई नेटवर्क बहुत है सर. लंदन में बहुत सारे अलुमनाई हम लंदन में मतलब यूनाइटेड किंगडम में है बहुत सारे. So certainly we'll be connected with you through them. Thank you very much once again. And thanks to the Dean, IT Cell and Web Admin who really did very well and supported us. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
So I declare the program is over now.